Thank you. The title of my presentation is Reflections on the Current Situation in Gaza and the West Bank. But I will talk more about the reactions to the current situation than the current situation itself, because I assume that all of us are very familiar through the media and other outlets of what is going on at the present time. It's not that the media, the mainstream media in our countries is perfect. There is an inbuilt bias in this media which has been exposed and talked about quite a lot. But we also receive information as parliamentarians and individuals from human rights organizations, from international organizations such as the International Union of Journalists and so on, who are very well aware of the situation and can pass on information which we do not find in the mainstream media. But I would also specifically recommend the Israeli newspaper Haaretz, because that is the number one source of I would say more or less reliable information and critical views of what is going on in the region. Unfortunately, I do not have any access to similar Palestinian media, but perhaps Siva can inform us what we could and should try to follow there as well. But also, I would mention some of these non-governmental organizations, civil society in Israel, which is such as the organization Breaking the Silence, former members of the Israeli Defense Forces who have come out with stories and information about the atrocities and war crimes they have been forced to commit as part of the Israeli Defense Force. And we must try and support these people because they are under heavy pressure in Israel, because we have a situation, and I think that we should recognize two items. First of all, of course, we are aware that this crisis did not begin in October 2023. That was an event which was, of course, unforeseen, but was also totally predictable, given all that has been going on in the past decades. So just one part of the ongoing story in Israel and Palestine. And I think that we should be, as I say this as chairman of Historians Without Borders, we should try and also be more cognizant of the history of the conflict. And I would like to comment here the Berlin Initiative, because it is the first time I have seen that both sides have come up with a rather comprehensive narrative of the history of the conflict and have been able to agree on how to put it down on paper. And that is certainly something which we will need in the future also to engage, among others, historians in trying to put an end to the conflict. But the second background is that we are witnessing the breakdown of the international rules-based multilateral order. And I would actually call it the breaking down, because it's not something that is just happening. It is something that is being deliberately caused. First of all, caused by Russia, with its aggression against Ukraine, but the Trump administration in the US is doing huge damage on a very well thought out basis against the international order and all international organizations, etc. And given this situation, this has given Israel the carte blanche to do without any impunity. It's to committing crimes and using military force, not only in Gaza and the West Bank, but also against Iran, against Yemen, against Syria, and so on. And the response here against the international community has been, I would say, substandard. While we have come out with statements, some of us saying, well, this is not acceptable. But so what? nothing else happens except the slight wagging of the fingers. But there is also civil society in all our countries, certainly in the Nordic countries, which has been very activated by the situation and is demanding concrete actions from their governments, from their parliaments, governments and the international community and the European Union in particular. We are here all Europeans because Europe has a very specific role and should have a specific role in the crisis. The rest of the world is looking at us. The rest of the world, the global south, knows what is going on and has a clear understanding of that. And they are looking at us. So why are you not doing anything on the ongoing atrocities and genocide we are witnessing every day in the region? We have condemned and we have taken sanctions immediately after the illegal occupation of the Crimea against Russia. And we have tried to pressure other countries in the global south to join us to do the same. But they have not done so, because one of the first questions that we have to answer is, so why have you not done the same thing with the illegal occupation of the Palestinian territories, which has been going on for almost 60 years? And there is no convincing answer to that. So that is something that we have to also deal with if we want to see any change. So this is more or less what I wanted to say here in the beginning. Maybe a few words about the Nordic, what's told about the Nordic's role is unfortunately to a large degree history. I would say that the only Nordic country that we have today is actually Norway, and hope that it will continue to be a Nordic country in that sense also after their elections. Maybe Iceland as well. But Sweden and Finland have profiled themselves with a very, very weak finger-wagging condemnation of what is going on, with absolutely no actions. And that is partly in Finland to the internal situation of the government, which is a very weak government and which needs the support and participation of two parties who have threatened to leave the government if Palestine is recognized, which we have not yet done, unfortunately. It's not that that would change anything on the ground, but it is an important symbolic act, but it must be also followed by other concrete actions as well. But even that has been beyond the capacity of the Finnish present government to do. But I would say that there is a parliamentary majority if Parliament had the possibility to take a decision, and that is a very constitutional issue in Finland, how to get this opinion recognized. I think that there is a majority, both among the parliamentarians and certainly among the general public, that this should be done, and that we should take a much more active, I would say, a Nordic role also in trying to stop the violence and create the possibilities for a two-state solution. But I would also want to remind, as is in our draft statement said, that if there is no two-state solution, the only acceptable alternative is a secular state where all the inhabitants of the region, irrespective of their ethnic background, of their religion and others, enjoy the same rights and obligations. This, of course, is something which is totally impossible today, but which has to be put also on the table as a reminder for those who try to sabotage or are not engaged in the two-state solution, that this is the only alternative. There is no acceptable apartheid alternative, which is the ongoing present situation. And unfortunately, we have seen in the past weeks a resolution passed in the Knesset saying that the West Bank should be annexed to Israel. And we have also seen legislation introduced about the E2 new colonies in East Jerusalem, which would put a definite end to any concrete possibility of building a Palestinian state with the geographical continuity. So we are in a very urgent situation. We must stop what is going on, and we must push all the parties to work for a peaceful and sustainable solution. Thank you.